I invite everyone and just have you just think, just in your own minds, what is hope? How would you define that word, hope? Let's just think about that a little bit and kind of sit with that, in particular how it plays out in our readings, particularly our gospel that we hear this evening, and how it relates to the Advent season, which really is a season of hope. First off, just a little story. This happened just this morning. This truly is a story. I always kind of get up pretty early, and it's always before the sun comes up this time of the year. But as I was kind of having my coffee and kind of going through some things and checking some things on the internet and the news and my bank accounts and all these different things and how much money I don't have, I have no hope there. But in all these different things, you do, and all of a sudden, it's about 6:30, 7 o'clock, the sun starts to come up a little bit, and you notice that there was just a little bit of a dusting of snow last night, and I thought, well, that is really, really cool. That is really pretty. So I had the brilliant and the bright idea. I don't know if some of you know this or not. Most of you probably do. But I have this little contraption called a drone. It flies, and it takes pictures and different things. I thought, wow, first snow of the year, let's get some pictures. So I get the drone out and get it all ready to go, and and take it outside, and I kind of put it up in the air, and all of a sudden, the thing just suddenly developed a mind of its own, and it took off. And I cannot control it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just like, all of a sudden, it's like I'm watching, my screen. It tells me where it's at and such. It's about 200 feet in the air, thank goodness. We're not going to hit any trees or power lines or anything. But all of a sudden, it's like 500, 600 feet away. And I'm like, this is not going well at all. So finally, after I push all these different buttons and I'm banging on the screen of my iPad and trying to get the thing going, and finally got it to set kind of like a home space, and it finally came under my control, and I was able to kind of move it around and direct it, and I start to bring it home. But then it's like I'm got full control of this thing now. As I'm up there looking at the screen, it's just like, this is really cool right now. And I got some really, really neat pictures. Just incredible. I put them on my Facebook page. Some of you may have seen it. If you want to see them, you can go there and see them. But it is, something that I was able to reestablish kind of control over the thing. And then I was able to manipulate it and able to get some really incredible pictures of God's goodness and the beauty of the earth around Placid. It's probably a good thing I live in Placid because I do not have many neighbors. And when I did not have control of the drone, I said some words I should not have said. All right? So I went from a very unhopeful state, thinking this hundreds of dollars worth of piece of equipment is going to be found by some farmer next spring in their cornfield, to very hopeful, because I was able to get something that is incredible, and I shared that beauty of those pictures with anyone who wants to see them. So you go from unhopefulness to hopefulness, and that can happen in a very, very short span and very short period of time. Hope is one of those gifts that the Lord gives to us. And it is something that we can have in various degrees in many different aspects of our life and our situations. Those of you who have children, you probably look at your kids and you hope for the best for them for the future. And it's kind of a wonderment and an awe. It kind of reminds you of what Mary and Joseph were thinking when the child Jesus was born. Who is this child to be? And, you kind of look at that, and you can, in a sense, you want to, like Isaiah the prophet says, prepare the way of the Lord, make straight his paths. You want to make it as smooth and as easy for your children as you possibly can. But you also understand and realize that life sometimes is pretty difficult, and there are valleys and mountains, and sometimes they have to climb and descend them on their own. And that, in a sense, is kind of the message of John the Baptist that we hear, prepare the way of the Lord. And, John is this kind of strange-looking figure. They don't do justice of John there. He's too clean-looking. He wore camel's hair, and he ate locusts, bugs, and honey, and all these different things. And he probably was, one that, kind of came out of the wilderness and all of a sudden just sort of appeared and started talking about this one who is to come after him. And people were, in a sense, desperate for a message of hope. And John was offering that. And people were coming to him from all of the countryside and from the city of Jerusalem. And they were listening to his words, and he kept saying, "There is one mightier than I coming after me." Now, John could have took this newfound fame and been a demigod himself and said, "Oh, this is really cool. All these people are coming to me, and, I could really kind of manipulate them and do whatever I want to them." But he didn't do that because he had hope in the one who was to come. He had hope in God's plan of salvation, and he was willing to, in a sense, kind of wait and to fulfill that hope. Now, we're pretty blessed. If you think about it, the way our world is, we have difficulties, of course. We absolutely do. But we have a lot of blessings, too. We sometimes focus only on the difficulties, only on the negative things, but stop and make a list sometime. What are you thankful for? What in life is so much different now than even when you were a kid? Could your parents have imagined that you would have it this good? Really stop and think about that. We should be people of hope. We should be absolute people of hope. I listen to every morning these daily reflections that I get from this group called Dynamic Catholic, and they send these things during Advent. And this little video, and the one this morning was really quite good. The guy who was talking about, he's a real baseball fan, and I don't remember which baseball player it was, but it was many, many years ago. And he was talking about how this baseball player is kind of an unknown guy, and they were in during spring training, and they were in the locker room after one of the kind of cuts. It was a day that a bunch of players are either going to get cut or get sent on to continue to practice with the team. And the coach called everybody in, and he says, "Well, here are the people who are making the team notes so far. Here are the people who are going maybe down one level to the minors leagues, or maybe a little bit lower than that even, but continue to work on their skills. But here are a few people as well. I'm sorry, but we just don't have a place for you." And one of them was this particular gentleman. This baseball player was saying there was another guy who was in the room, and he got cut. And, you just kind of feel that. You kind of work towards that goal, and you hope that, that you can have the skills, and you can make the cut, and you can get another chance, and all these different things. And to hear that news, that's heartbreaking. And he was saying, it's just I really felt for that guy who got cut from the team. And he stood up and he says, "Thank you very much, Coach." And everybody kind of looked at him, and they said, and Coach says, "You heard me correctly, right? We don't have a place for you at all." And his response was, "That's okay. This is a reminder to me that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And the Lord has a different plan for me." That's a person of hope. I don't know if I could have said that at that moment. It's a good, in a sense, kind of way and moment to kind of in a direction to move us towards. Can we be people of hope? John the Baptist says we can. Jesus says we can. Many of the saints who have gone before us say absolutely we can. Even with the distresses and the stressors in life, we can still be positive people and people of hope. I think that's what Advent is about. When you go out of here today, remind yourself and ask yourself the question, how can I be a person of hope to those whom I encounter?